Hey everybody, this is Dr. Rivera, and we are still on chapter 11. But in this video, I'm going to talk about trait theories. Uh, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each of the trait theories, but I do want to help give you an overview so that you understand what you're reading about as you go over. Now, there are four different theories that you're going to be reading about. Allport's trait theory, Cattell's factor analysis theory, Eismick, and Paul Costa's and Robert McRae's big five personality traits. And that last one is the one that I want to spend the most time discussing. So the first theory that I'm going to talk about is Allport's trait theory. And all of these trait theories are different than some of the theories we've talked about because all they're doing is really describing the trait. Uh, I'll talk about different traits at the end, but let me sort of go over the theory itself. Allport suggested that there are three kind of umbrellas of types of traits: what he calls central traits, secondary traits, and cardinal traits. Central traits are the traits that are common in you, right? They are the traits that sort of define you for the most part. So let's say you're naturally a happy person, that might be a central trait for you. Maybe you're very extroverted or introverted, and that is a central trait. Secondary traits are traits that are more situational. So that maybe you're usually extroverted, but in business meetings, you tend to be a little shy, right? That's a secondary trait. It's not common, but usually it comes up in specific situations. The last trait, or the last type of traits that Alport talks about, is what he calls cardinal traits. And cardinal traits are traits that are always present. Now, it seems that normal, healthy people don't have cardinal traits. And to be fair, when Allport was talking about cardinal traits, he often talked about traits that were closer to being disordered personality traits, like chauvinism or racism, sexism, being sadistic. And the truth is that when you think about cardinal traits, traits that are always present, traits that are inflexible, they actually kind of resemble more of personality disorders, things that are always present. For example, maybe you are very extroverted. You tend to enjoy being the center of attention. But if you have a normal personality, a healthy personality, then when you're in somebody else's wedding, you don't disrupt the wedding because you want to be the center of attention. You sit down quietly and you wait for the ceremony to be over. But if you had a histrionic personality disorder, well, then that need to be the center of attention doesn't just go away. You can't put it in check in the middle of a wedding. And so you're going to ruin this person's wedding so that you can end up being the center of attention. You might make a big scene or just kind of interfere in some way. That is closer to a cardinal trait. And usually, when that is present, it usually means that the personality is disordered somehow. Okay. Now, the next theory that I want to talk about is Cattell's factor analysis trait theory. So, what Cattell did was he took a bunch of different traits and see how often people had them. That is, he gave people personality traits and see who had which traits, and he did a statistical analysis, something that we call a factor analysis, to see which traits usually go together. That is, um, uh, if you are warm, then maybe you tend to be a little bit happy too. That is going to go together. And what he did was he came up with a few traits that you can either be high or low in. And you're seeing one version of this here, and in the next page, you're going to see a different set of traits. Now, uh, Eisnick talks about kind of two, he takes Catel's idea and sort of takes it to the next level, and he comes up with two spectrums. How extroverted or introverted a person is versus how stable or unstable they are. And you can see how that falls neatly into that circle chart there. As his research continued, he added another spectrum there, which is a psychoticism. And so now we can't make a nice little neat chart, but you can see his pen model in the chart there, and which traits fall under psychoticism, extroversion, and neuroticism. Neuroticism is closer to the unstable aspect. And then, of course, extroversion is the extroverted, introverted um, spectrum there. Now, the last trait that I want to talk about, I want to spend a little bit more time on, and this is Costa and McRae's, what we often call the big five personality traits. Now, you'll notice that the word ocean is at the top here, because if you want to remember what the big five personality traits are, they spell out the word ocean. They are openness to new experiences, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. And so I want to talk about these as separate traits so that you can kind of get the idea of what exactly it is that I'm talking about when I say the word traits. So the first trait is openness to new experiences. And of course, you can be high on this or low on this. If you're high, then you're obviously open to new experiences. You like to try new things. You tend to have more liberal values. You're usually more open minded, more creative, and you tend to have a higher cognitive functioning, that is, a higher IQ than someone who's very low in openness. So, if you are low in openness, you tend to be more practical, you tend to like routine, and you tend to conform to the rules or to however it is people expect you to behave. So, some examples: someone who's high in openness might think, "I never thought about doing it that way. I would love to see how that works." Someone who's low in openness is probably going to think, "There's only one way to do it. That's the way I always do it." Someone who's high in openness might think, I I love to wonder about different things and analyze what would be the best way to do it. Whereas someone who's low in openness is probably going to think, people think too much. If you want to get something done, you just have to do it. High in openness, you might think, how can I determine what's right or wrong unless I try to understand many different perspectives? Where someone low in openness might think, everyone knows what's right and what's wrong. Things that are wrong are always wrong. What you see here is that you might be very high or very low, or kind of feel like you're kind of in the middle there. All three of those answers are probably true. Some of you are very high in openness, some very low, and some kind of in the middle. Another thing I want to point out is that it's not necessarily that one is better than the other. Being high or low or in the middle is better. This is just your personality, and so your personality is going to be different from mine and from your parents or from your friends. It's just different. Conscientiousness is your desire to act right or to fit into society, to make sure that you fit in and make people feel at ease around you. If you're high in conscientiousness, you care about what other people think, how society judges you. You care about what's right or wrong according to society. People who are high in conscientiousness tend to have better grade point average, better friendships, usually are more religious, and have more forgiving attitude. If you are low in conscientiousness, you might have criminal behavior. You have to have very, very low conscientiousness. That is, you don't care about society at all. You might be more likely to abuse substances. You might be a bit more disorganized, careless, or impulsive. Here are some examples. Someone who's high in conscientiousness might think, I care about how other people see me, and so I say take time to look good so I don't make other people feel ill at ease. Someone who's low in conscientiousness might think, I don't care how other people see me, I dress for comfort or I dress for myself. People who are high in conscientiousness might think, I'm on time and prepared because I care about how other people see me. Whereas people who are low in conscientiousness might think, I'm often late and unprepared because I rarely think about how other people might feel. People who are high in conscientiousness might say, I'm disciplined with my emotions and behaviors. I don't put other people through my problems. Whereas someone who's low in conscientiousness might think, I'm spontaneous and hedonistic. I do what I want to do because it feels right. Again, you might be low or high or somewhere in the middle there. And this is just, we're just all different. These are just the traits that we happen to have or we happen to be high or low. Um, Extraversion uh, is how much you enjoy or how much energy you get from being around other people. Some people are high in extroversion. They like to be around other people. They enjoy social situations. They like social interaction. Obviously, they're more sociable. People who are extroverted tend to experience gratitude and meaning of life at higher levels. They seem to enjoy life. Uh, and they also tend to be more forgiving. Whereas people who are low in extroversion avoid socializing. They tend to be lower energy, more somber, more reserved. Some examples. Extroverted people might think, when I'm bored or tired, being around other people makes me happy and excited. Whereas introverted people or people who are low in extroversion might say, when I'm bored or tired, I need to be alone so I can recharge. Extroverted people might say, being alone makes me feel sort of depressed. Whereas people who are extroverted say, being around too many people for too long drives me crazy. Extroverted people might think, I love life. I want to enjoy every minute of it. Sometimes you'll hear them say, I'll sleep when I'm dead. For people who are low in extroversion or introverted might think, I'm not very excited about anything. Certainly not parties or being around a lot of people. And again, some of you are high, some of you are low in extroversion, and some of you might think, I'm kind of in the middle here. Agreeableness is kind of how nice you are. Some people are just more agreeable. They try to be nice all the time. They try to be pleasant. They think about how other people feel. These people are more altruistic. They might do something for others, even if it ends up hurting them a little bit. They might have more religious faith. Uh, they tend to have more satisfying relationships. And they're also less likely to lie about themselves. People who are low in agreeableness are ruthless. They'll just tell you whatever they're thinking, whatever they're feeling. They'll just let you know. They're also more suspicious and uncooperative. If you've ever been in a group with someone who's low in agreeableness, they buck the system. They don't want to do what the group wants to do. They're not very cooperative. And these people are also more like to lie about themselves. So some examples here. An agreeable person might say, I think you're probably wrong, but I don't want to make a big deal out of this, so I'll just agree with you. Whereas someone who's low in agreeableness might think, you're wrong, And I'm going to tell you that you're wrong, obviously. People who are agreeable might think, I'll just go along with what everybody else wants to do. And people who are low in agreeableness might say, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to do it. People who are high in agreeableness might think, if I have a flaw, I admit it. I don't like to lie to other people. Where people who are low in agreeableness might think, of course I'm going to lie about it. I don't mind lying, and I don't care if people find out. Everyone lies about that stuff, they might say. And again, here you might be high or low or in the middle. Now, neuroticism is how anxious you get about any kind of situation. People who are neurotic tend to focus on the most negative aspects of life. And so they tend to be more stressed out. They ignore positive things, right? You're at a party, everyone's having a good time, there's good music, there's good food, you're having a good time. But these people don't notice that. They don't focus on the good things. They focus on the bad thing, whatever that bad thing might be. The lighting isn't just right, or the decoration looks weird. And they focus on that, and so they don't have a good time even though everybody else is having a great time, even though everything else is perfect, because they focus on just the negative stuff. These people always feel like they're being judged, they experience more negative feelings, they often suffer in silence, especially if you are neurotic and let's say very conscientious. Then you don't want to put other people through your problems. So you just deal with the negative things that are happening to you uh, on your own, and no one ever notices that. Because you're so stressed out, you're also more likely to die younger if you're neurotic. And under certain circumstances, it's difficult to detect how neurotic somebody actually is. Now, people who are low in neuroticism tend to be calm, more secure, and more self satisfied. Here are some examples. People who are neurotic might think, this is awful. I can't believe people enjoy this. Whereas people who are not neurotic or low might think, I'm having a great time like I always do. People who are neurotic might think, I don't want to tell anyone that I'm having a bad time because I don't want them to judge me. Where people who are low in neuroticism might think, I don't often think about how other people judge me. I'm enjoying my life, and I think other people are enjoying their life too. People who are neurotic might think, everyone thinks I'm dumb, or everyone will think I'm dumb if I ask that question. Whereas people who are low in neuroticism might think, I'm doing a great job. Or if I don't know, everybody else might not know. So I'm going to go ahead and ask that question. So again, uh, this is Costas and McRae's five factor theory, or what we call the big five personality traits, which spell ocean. And I went over Allport, Cattell, Eisneck, and Costas and McRae's theories in this section. In the next section, I'm going to talk a little bit about cognitive psychology and focus on two major topics. Uh, but I'm going to see you in that video.